Thank you everyone for joining us today for our Parking Logix webinar series. And look, we're really excited to present this live case study over here, managing university parking and preparing for, I guess, what we're calling the new normal right now. And I have two amazing, awesome panelists over here. I'll start by first introducing the hottest young talent in parking today, Pablo Aguilar over
Oh,
here,
build it up.
there we go. He's been with UTRGV for the past 5 years. Got his MBA there. Listen, Pablo, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And
Thanks for having me.
right on. And we have our elder statesman. I don't want to, give away too much on the age or anything like that, but we have our, we got Matt Penny here from the University of Baylor. Quite a career, 16 years in parking. Worked for McDonald Transit, Texas Department of Transportation, Waco Transit, and now has been with Baylor University. So thanks again, Matt, Pablo, for taking the time here.
Absolutely.
Right on. So we're really looking forward to your insight today. We're going to be covering just a variety of topics, and really, we want to hear your experiences and how you're dealing with certain things, like specifically around, parking demand, the data that you use, your environment, what that parking behavior looks like around campus, the solution, the technologies that you guys have implemented across the board, and some of the lessons learned that you could share with some of our cohorts over here. But I just want to kick things off first, with an introduction to your campus and the lots and garages that you oversee. So what I'll do is I'll start with Pablo first in terms of how you're controlling your lots and in terms of access control, revenue control. That could give us a nice introduction to your campus.
Sure. So here at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, we have a multi-campus university. So it's a distributed campus. The major campuses, they're roughly about 60 miles in distance apart. And just to give you I guess a clearer view of our structure, we're like 29,000 students, largely commuter campus. All right. So our transportation component it's a huge part to what it is that we do over here. As far as lot management, we have combined approximately 60 to 65 parking lots, and they're all surface lots. So we do not have a parking garage here in either of the campuses, but we actually started a parking study earlier this year, in early March. So before all this COVID, happened, we started this parking study, and speaking about surface lots, garages, comparison, stuff like that. So that was kind of placed on hold because right after we got hit, with this current situation. But as of now, we have about I would say approximately 11,000 parking spaces distributed across the campuses, and we follow revenue control. We use the T2 as our PMS, our parking management system, and we have a zone structure as well. So we have a zone structure that we sell permits to students, staff, faculty, visitors, and we just try to manage them. And I guess the easiest way for university and in our case as well to do it is through enforcement. So we do have those surface lots, and that we manage through enforcement, and revenue control is based on the T2 parking management and parking permit distribution system.
Very nice. Very good. And Matt, same question in terms of how you're controlling everything.
Pablo, it's interesting to hear you say you were right in the middle of a parking study, and then COVID just cut it off right in the middle. You're like, well, okay, that ruins my plans because you were probably going to use that study for this fall or setting stuff up. Baylor University, we've been using a hunting system, and so here, hey, we'd sell a student a permit. Here's your permit. Good luck. Go find a student parking place somewhere. We were in the middle of transitioning to a zone system. Had met with the student government. Had met with all the meetings you have to build support, and it was moving in the right direction. And that was in February, and in March we go off to spring break and school ends, and so all of our PR on changing the zones was missed with other communications and things. So it's life goes on. All of us were in the middle of stuff when stuff started. Baylor's got about 16,000 students. We've got 11,000 parking spaces. We've got about 50% of that in garages. We have 5 garages. Each garage has about 1,000 spaces. We utilize LPR for our permits. And so what that means is we don't have any gates on the garages. We don't have any control systems on any of our lots. And so we drive around and read license plates for that. We've deployed counters on most of our garages. We only have one that doesn't have counters now. And so we're heading towards a new system. And if it goes well, I'll be with you next year. If it doesn't go well, then your next conference call, you won't have Matt Penny here. There'll be some other guy at Baylor.
Oh, I find that hard to believe. But you guys actually made a good point. Pablo was saying that it's mainly a commuter campus. So, I guess with new physical distancing measures, is there more of an emphasis you feel that for students to drive into campus as opposed to using shuttle services? What are your what's your approach on that?
I guess my initial inclination right now is that, yeah, students would prefer to drive to campus versus, shuttling over. At the moment, though, we are not anticipating a huge increase in vehicles on campus because of, we're actually, early data shows that about 30% of the student population will return to campus this fall semester. So that's a great reduction of people on campus. So I think the transportation demand will be there. It's, again, for our university, it's a huge component. It gets our students from, campus to campus. And however, the way that we're doing it, we are, complying with, social distancing measures, plexiglass wherever we can, sanitation, cleanliness, and stuff like that. But yeah, as far as, the parking demand, I think it will increase eventually. Maybe not this fall, but towards spring, once we see more students on campus.
Right. And I guess for Matt, the same thing with you, in terms of shuttling, has that been scaled back now that classes are going to be more virtual? What's that student split look like?
The flip of this year is really interesting because in the past, what we've always done is parking was crowded. And so we were pushing people to a remote lot and ride the buses. Now Baylor has a bus system of short distances. So our commuters, we've picked some large generators, apartment complexes, 500 beds plus. That bus stops there. It comes back. They're on very short headways, so they're moving about every 15 minutes. They can complete their cycle. Remote parking we can complete every 10 minutes. And so now we've got social distancing, and people don't want to be on a crowded bus because we would pack those buses in peak hours. And so now what's happening is we don't think we're going to have a lot of people on campus parking. So Baylor went with a 30-30-40 model. 30% of our classes are going to be online, 30% of our classes are going to be in person, and 40% of our classes are some type of hybrid. So what a hybrid might mean is you got a Monday, Wednesday, Friday class, but you only come to class on Monday. And so Wednesday and Friday you would be virtual or you would be online. Hey, I don't know what that means for parking. It was interesting talking to some others, universities here in Texas, and that the indications are that, hey, 50% of the students won't be on campus. And so that means we should have a lot more parking So with your bus question, what's happening is we've got this flip of, instead of riding the bus, do we sell discounted permits? How do we find ways to utilize what we think is going to be spaces that aren't being parked in?
No, that's
Yeah, absolutely,
that's
Matt.
very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that you mentioned right now, Matt, one of the things that we were asked early on from other Texas universities is if we were gonna, adapt any permits to like a shorter time frame, student parking permits and employee parking permits as well. Are we gonna, have a reduced rate? So right now we're actually considering, and now that you said that, we're considering, and we submitted to systems proposal for a reduced students parking permit. And right now we have students permits available, and we have semester parking permits available, but we submitted that proposal for a monthly. That's for the students that don't really know if they're actually going to be attending classes frequently, or they're uncertain, to be determined, what the classes are going to look like. Or I guess if they have just a little nudge of fear that, classes might just, cancel altogether or go 100% online. So that's something that we're looking into. And this is just like recently, within this past, within this week, we were considering that. So it's pending approval, but yeah, this is something that we had to actually look into as an alternative to see if it would be, feasible, one, and then two, if it would be, something that the university would want to offer as well to our students.
Hey, Pablo, you mentioned something there of, here just this past week, y'all been working on that stuff. Hey, can I tell you that every department at Baylor is kind of there, as far as like, normally you and I would have completed this stuff back, probably May or before May, and had all this lined up. And now here we are trying to figure out. And in fact, so Baylor's taken a stance of, we want to provide some stable platforms for our parents. We want to look like, hey, this is what, and so we've laid out, we're not making any late changes. So this is our options, but we have probably, I don't know, 6 or 7 contingencies that if we see the right trends, we're going to activate a contingency. An example of that is if we have availability and if the buses are packed, which we don't know if they will be or not, if those 2 contingencies are there, we're going to offer a discounted permit for these apartments to get them to park, to take the pressure off the bus and to fill up empty spaces in the garage. And so, but normally we'd have all that done, but we're still working on it, aren't we?
Yeah, it's been an interesting year as far as, reacting, right? So the good thing is that, we are flexible enough, to move with the changes if needed, right? Yep. And we learned it, especially for me, I learned most of this year when we went from, going 100 miles per hour to screeching stop, So I think this did serve as a good training ground, for us now and, for future semesters and years.
And just out of curiosity there, you were mentioning obviously with this hybrid approach, a monthly rate, like has it been discussed to even, do a daily rate or something like that for people who really don't come on as frequently, maybe like only 2 times a month or something like that? Like, has that even been discussed?
Yeah, so we actually we have a drafted matrix, I guess kind of like a decision matrix for students to determine what type of permit or if any permit would be needed. So we have different scenarios that we're working with UMC, University Marketing, to see if it can be interactive, instead of just like a flyer that we're going to send out. So let's say just different scenarios. If I'm a student, I'm going to be attending classes, a handful of times, less than 5 times, per semester. Okay, so then I'll go this route. So if I'm a student that I know for a fact I'm going to be here more than 5, so that's something that we're currently working on. And yeah, the discussion is out there, and it's just right now it's a little bit of uncertainty in the demand, right? realistically speaking.
Yeah, yeah. That's the nature of it, absolutely. And I mean, I guess Matt, it's the same thing for you guys as well. Like it seems like it's a little bit more flat in terms of the discount on the permits, right?
So yeah, we're looking at that. We're looking at day permits. One of the interesting things we did this year is and again, this was all part of the plan back in February before things kind of fell apart, is um, one of our zones, the student government asked, hey, can you make it Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Tuesday, Thursday? So there are two permits. There's one for
Mhm.
the one for two, which sounded great when everybody was coming to campus and you had that Monday, Wednesday, Friday class that you were going to come to. But now what's happened is uh, it doesn't really fit the need like it would every other year. So we're looking at
Yeah.
day permits, and we're looking at how else can we do. One of the challenges we're facing is we were looking at bringing a third party vendor in to help us sell this day permit a little smoother, a little faster. But we couldn't get the attention of legal and the processes to that vendor, procurement and all the things that a larger university has to bring them on board. And so we're handicapped us a little bit in making these very fast, very agile moves sometimes.
Yeah, yeah. Pivoting and shifting can always be challenging. Absolutely.
Mhm.
For any organization, 100%. I guess on that note, Pablo even touched on it before in terms of, how is this going to flow into the winter semester or in spring? Is there, you both mentioned that a parking study obviously was completed earlier this year. Does another one have to be conducted? Like what's that parking demand and that wayfinding plan looking like in 2021? If you guys can, I guess, shine that crystal ball and I'll start with Matt and see if
Uh,
understand what that would look like.
Man, a great question. My hope for
Hmm.
everybody is that the spring semester looks as normal as any spring semester out there. I think
Hmm.
I don't know how many people I speak for, but my friends and my colleagues, we want normalcy to come back. We think we've learned some stuff through this, some unexpected things. For us, the zoning is very in a way, it's nice. We're not getting the crush of the fall semester and the sellouts and the wait list that we would have experienced. We're going to learn a lot, and hopefully, that'll all transition well into the spring. Pablo, I don't know. You had a study going on. How are you going to take that study and go from here?
So we actually we had to put a pause on the study since the majority of the crossover was going to be to the fall semester. So that's where we get the bulk of the students. So looking forward, and just to answer your question again, we're at this point we're coming up with different scenarios. So we got, what we're expecting, the best case scenario, or then the worst case scenario. So we're just preparing for whatever happens. I like to say, pray for the best, prepare for the worst. And what we're looking to see is, if this semester is going to tell us anything, and if we're going to learn anything from this process, I think the way that we intake it, and we communicate, we've been communicating a lot with other universities, especially sister universities here, Texas universities, as to what they're expecting, and just by speaking to Matt right now, I think the consensus is like, well, we're just going to have to wait and see, right, what the semester says. But I'm with Matt. I'm seeing that the spring semester should be a lot more normal, I guess, than what we're seeing currently. Um, and it's just a matter of time, to see if how we're going to determine what changes will need to be made or what adjustments we'll need to do
Hmm.
moving forward for this spring semester.
And I guess so, and that's a really great point. With that, like obviously events, probably the majority of events have been canceled for the fall. Do you foresee that changing in the spring? Do you see, like, when do you see events start to come back? Whether they be athletics, musical, otherwise. Like I know sometimes you have a big, Easter event. I know on the Baylor campus. What is that going to look like fall compared to winter? Do you see that shifting a little bit?
I don't know. Baylor, we had a meeting with athletics the other day, and so normally what Baylor does is we have 5 garages and we close down 2 of them for our football games. The conversation with athletics, because they're social distancing in the stadium, they're only going to do 50% occupancy, and so the conversation I had with them was they said, hey, you don't need to shut down those 2 garages this year, which was great as far as workload for my office, but as far as the campus experience and that ability to go to a football game, that's kind of a downer. How does that transition into spring? I don't know. It's surprising how many things we're doing to limit those things now. I will say Baylor has free visitor parking, and so we've got these areas designated for visitors, and they absorb things like small conferences and lunch meetings and just other business meetings that happen on campus. None of those are happening this year, and that's a whole area that we've designated to absorb those type of events. And so now that's not happening. So how do I repurpose that is my question for the fall, and I don't know how it affects the spring. Pablo?
Yeah, over in our side, events, it's really not a big part of of our campus experience. Again, because we're largely commuter school, there's about maybe 3 to 5% of residents on campus. So in comparison, to the student population. Athletics, I don't want to say it's not a big thing. It is a big thing for us. We have very good teams in the WAC, but we don't currently have that experience where we all have to save 2,000 parking spaces or anything just like that. We have some. I guess some technology events that do happen. There's a school of technology that and engineering that they have a big yearly event, but unfortunately we didn't. We're not preparing for it this fall. It's a yearly event. We're bracing for next fall. Hopefully that these lessons that we're learning will transition into like a more efficient way of working. So and this is involving events, staffing, revenue control, anything that we've already mentioned, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And on that note, where parking and transportation sits, have there been any changes on how parking and that transportation side is operated? Like, are you part of like an auxiliary service? Are you self-sustaining? Do you see yourself being absorbed into another department, or is it just going to remain status quo? Let's start with Matt.
What I think is going to happen for Baylor is for a long time we've been a part of the Department of Public Safety, and so we're a sister department to the police department, and so revenue has not been our focus. Our focus has been making sure the campus runs smoothly, make parking as invisible as possible and not a pain. I think with the economic times, what we're going to see is they may tap more into the revenue side, and that's me speculating. The university's hurting a little bit. We're spending a lot of money trying to keep our students and our faculty and staff safe, and I think that there's going to be a turnaround at some point. They're going to want to see what other revenues we can produce, and I think that's coming our way. I just don't know. I don't know if that'll be next year or in the spring or 2 years down the line, but I can see it happening for us.
Yeah, over on this side, we are kind of, I don't want to say revenue driven, but yeah, we are part of auxiliary services. We're actually kind of it works differently over here. We're kind of like the parents of our PD. So we do sustain the safety and the security aspect of things. So this has been a pretty big impact for us. So because we still have to, have the funds to pay for the safety, and security programs. the challenge that we're having right now is, moving forward, budgeting, since we are still, I guess providing this revenue for budgeting, for safety, for security, for traffic. That's our biggest challenge right now. So we're looking into just different ways to become more efficient, and using technology, to the best as we can, instead of overloading on hiring additional personnel and stuff like that. So just finding a way to make technology work for us.
Absolutely. And on that note, on some of the data that you guys use, like what key metrics, what kind of data do you use on a day-to-day basis? Whether it be our system, whether it be like from the LPR side of things, from the permit management side. If you just want to talk a little bit about what you look at on your day-to-day, and I'll go ahead, Matt.
Yeah, sure. One thing we're watching very eagerly is our permits went on sale August 1st. By the way, I don't recommend putting your permits on sale on a Saturday. Be in the office. Don't be out of the office. Just and so it went very well. Our site got a little overloaded, just kind of crashed a little bit. I was actually online watching it and answering questions and calming mommies and dads down. So we're watching permit sales. Number one is the first thing we're watching. We are going to tie that once school starts with, we're going to tie it with our parking Logix system, obviously. And so we're going to see, okay, what can we oversell? We predicted an oversell. This year we may be under that just because of the online classes and things that Baylor's offering. But those are the two metrics that we're going to watch a lot. And specifically, we're going to watch when are they coming in, when are they going out. Do we have an opportunity to sell an afternoon permit? That's one of our contingencies. Can we sell a permit that is good from 2 o'clock on for a very low rate, just to utilize it? Those are the two things we're going to watch. There are several different reports we're going to watch. Is how many times does the garage flip? In other words, fill up and empty and fill up and empty. What time are they coming in? What time are they leaving? And then total occupancy. And so those are the things we're going to kind of watch for and seeing our next steps as we try to be flexible.
Yeah, we're looking at pretty much the same thing. We're looking at permit sales. So us down here, we have a couple of relief programs that the university set as an initiative this year. So we have these I guess eligible students that took next amount of hours. Let's say this summer they completed 6 credit hours. They will be receiving a free Zone 2 parking permit, which is it's a really good deal. Zone 2 parking permits here, they're close proximity towards the core of campus. So we're keeping an eye on that to see how many students actually take advantage of that. So I think we had about a little over 8,000 students attend the summer sessions and complete eligibility. So we're looking to see how that's going to translate to the parking lot inventory, and to see if we're gonna have I guess that amount of people actually visit campus at the same time. Are we gonna are they gonna be peaking at different hours for this? We've been trying to use enrollment reports as much as possible, but Matt, enrollment reports, they just change every day. Sometimes, kids, they'll just drop classes and all of a sudden, hey, I'm taking all online classes. But trying to find a better way, and that's where I believe that, Parking Logix comes in, as far as, being able to identify, what the real demand is, the real peaks, so we can have that data to back us up in the decisions that we need to make moving forward. So that's what we're really looking into this year. And it's a challenge right now, because of the uncertainty. However, we're confident we're installing a couple more parking lot counters. One in the Brownsville campus that should be done very soon, and then the other one in Annenberg. So that just gives us a little bit more, more tools that we can see.
No, that's amazing. That's fantastic. It looks like you're all using technology, as you said, working for you, and then using these data points to help make that decision. And, on that note, I wanted to share a little bit about, actually from both of you on how the data is being used, at least from the parking Logix side of things over here. And if I don't know if y'all can see my screen right now,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so this is something really cool that they've done at Baylor University, using a map widget to color code and show the capacity in real time. So they have the 5 garages around campus. And then obviously, I think this was taken recently since most of the spaces are available right now, and they're not full. Last semester there were more yellows and reds, but
That's not typical right there.
yeah, exactly. So this is something that's very public facing, to the students, staff, faculty, to the stakeholders. So this is something really cool that that they have like right on their website that they could pop up, because all we're doing is counting at the entry and the exit points, simply wirelessly communicating that information to signage, and you're getting your data. Like over here, these next 2 charts, this is actually I took this in I believe in February. Like I tried to find some of the base data before COVID hit, so I looked at UTRGV's lot E9 campus over here. So I think this is the week of February 3rd, and basically you could see that occupancy trend. You could see how that lot is behaving over the course of the day, and then obviously well, I mean, as a student, Friday was always the day that nobody ever wanted to come to class. It was always like a day off as a student. So you could see the trends obviously fall a little bit on the Friday. And you could see it again on that same day, on February 3rd, the entry and exit. Basically, this is the behavior of how students use the lot, or how people are using the lot, the number of entrance and exit points. Again, this is lot E9, and you can see how it moves over the course of the day. So just
Jason,
some of the data.
you can tell I'm a numbers nerd, because I'm like, go back to that last slide. I want to see that again.
That's right. That's it. So
I remember doing this before we had parking Logix, and you're like, well, how many people are in the garage at the? And you're like, we think maybe 25 spaces. I mean, we were just guessing. And like now, people ask me questions about, hey, what does a Thursday event look like after 2 o'clock? And I can go and I can pull up a chart just like you had and say, hey, how many guests you got? Oh, you're gonna be fine. There's not gonna be. It's just it's a whole other world, baby. So sorry, it came out.
No, that's awesome. No, that's good. And this is what guys like you are using it for. And that's fantastic, especially when you have to plan for the future and make these decisions. So, and that actually brings me to my next point. It's like, in terms of, obviously you guys have to, I don't want to say appease, your stakeholders. Obviously, I think the stat is out there that the students are the second most entitled group of parkers out there, and I think second only to doctors. So if you're a health campus with students, you're in for a treat. But the idea is that like what is your relationship with the student council and the student government? Because I know Baylor a little bit, you work really closely with them in terms of making a decision on campus. If you both want to just speak to that a little bit, and in terms of how you work with different groups on the university.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead, Matt, or Pablo, go for it.
All right, so we work very well with the Student Government Association. So we actually met with SGA yesterday, and we form part of the Parking and Traffic Advisory Committee as well. So they provide they assign some students to form part of this committee. And what happens in this committee, it's an advisory committee. So anything that we think that needs to change. Anything that we want to bring up that's new, or that anybody else for that matter wants to bring up that's new. So we bring it, over to this committee, and we kind of, see the facts, see, opinions, and basically just come out with a consensus. Just come out with like, yes, this is going to work very well, or we can try this like a type of a pilot. And something that some students had mentioned a while back, as far as a PGS system, like we should probably do something like that. And that just triggered us to reach out when we did reach out to Parking Logix. So I got a story. It's not a funny story, but it made me reminisce of the good old days that the SGA president said yesterday. And he actually asked us, okay, so after the whole meeting, he's like, okay, I got one more question. And he says, okay, so let's pretend that we're not in the current situation with COVID, and the time off and lost revenue and stuff like that. Okay, so can you please tell me what are your plans, as far as, making this a better place for the student population, more convenient, safer, and stuff like that. And he's like, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but let's just pretend. Just pretend nothing is happening. What are you going to do tomorrow? And I told them, you know what? We're still looking into technology. We're looking into, just providing better technology, more parking guidance systems. So if we can show this data to students, they'll be able to make a better decision on, where to go and try and park, at different peak hours. And he just made us reminisce. So we just started dreaming once again. And I remembered about you, Jason. He reminded me so about this meeting as well. And yeah, that's basically what our relationship is like. So we do meet periodically. We meet as well with the Parking and Traffic Advisory Committee. We had laid off for a long while, but we're getting back to it. And it's a very good working relationship. They provide a lot of questions and a lot of suggestions, and we just kind of work through them to filter them out, so we can get to something that we can one that's feasible and two that we believe will work.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear. And it's good that you have that close of relationship, and you have a plan moving forward with that. And I guess, Matt, I guess the relationship has remained the same. Has that changed a little bit with your student government?
The student government hadn't been meeting here lately. Pablo, it sounds like you've got a great relationship there.
Yeah, that sounds,
exactly the way it's written to be. Right. I got to tell you, my nature is I just like to go do stuff. I went to Texas A&M University, and I was talking to them about some stuff. And Peter kind of said, "Hey, Matt, you're past that point. You can't do this on your grassroots anymore." He goes, "You have to get out more publicly and pull in stakeholders and get opinions." Not that I haven't done that. It just, to me, it slows down the process sometimes. But Peter is absolutely right. Baylor is past a point where we can do things on our own or just slide something in. And so the student government here has been outstanding. Again, we're not an auxiliary. So one of the nice things about auxiliary is, like, in a bad year, I don't have to make up money, and there's not a lot of pressure to pull in so many dollars. However, the downside of not being like that is I can't find something that has a good ROI and just go, hey, I'm going to buy this and make a return on investment later. That's just not the way we're set up here at Baylor. And so I went to the student government and I talked to them and I said, hey, how about a counting machine? And would y'all like a counter that tells you when a garage is full? And Jason, as you know, that's been about 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
And so the student government actually paid for our first counter on the Baylor campus. And that's when we saw what a win it was. And that was probably the best collaborative effort. They've helped us now put 5 counters up. They've helped us put a bus shelter. The nice thing now is I've got some people who aren't excited about our zone shift. And when they come to me and they're like, hey, who is the crazy person that thought of this? I go, well, actually, the student government was the ones who signed off on this. And although I got to tell you, there's nothing better than being able to just kind of slide that complaint over. So, yeah, I'm learning that it's very critical here, and we've got a good relationship with our students.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Look, that's fantastic, guys. Glad to hear these good stories in that kind of way. And as we're nearing the end here, just to conclude everything, I want to do touch on some of the lessons learned that you guys have had, because Pablo, and actually you both mentioned, making the technology work for you. What are some of the lessons learned that you've taken away in any new technology that has come on board, whether it be from the permit side, whether it's our stuff, whether it's, just to hear your experience on how that's happened. I know it could, I know it's a little vague, but like just to touch on that.
Yeah. So one lesson learned is nothing is 100%. As far as any technology or data.
Yeah.
I've learned this with our current PMS system. As far as reporting, we still need to go back and reconcile reports. We still need to go back and do that manual stuff. One thing that I really enjoyed, setting up that first parking lot counter with you guys is shortly after we did, we received a phone call from a very important faculty member, and she was very concerned that our accuracy was incorrect. And when I asked her, what the situation was, is she had been noticing trends already. So these trends, she's like, it's never full at this time, and it's right now it's marking that it's like it's so full. So did you actually look at the parking lot? And when she actually looked at the parking lot, it was really full. So we had some event going on. But that's a quick story. But we did right after that pilot program. Initially, we did a survey, and the results were really good. So what we were able to see and count ourselves was 98% accuracy level, which was really good. With snapshots, and then comparing it to the data that you guys were providing, that was excellent. And then just to reflect on that, the approval rating from the student population was over 92%. So students thought, okay, so this is visible, it's worked for me. And and we got a lot of feedback. Either I just drove straight past that parking lot because I saw that I was full, or I saw that there was some spaces left, and I went in there and I found them. So we got a very good data, very good feedback. But yeah, so nothing is 100%, but what you guys are doing is really, really close, very good.
Awesome.
Pablo, we're similar minds, man. So I think I'm in the same boat there of plug and play is great. I love things when I can plug them into my computer and then just boom, they're working, and I never have to touch them again. Our systems are too complex to do that. And so a couple of thoughts I have on any new technology is there are going to be hiccups in the installation. There are going to be some things that don't talk right, or some signals that don't reach, or and just stay the course. I mean, expect them, and when they come up, don't freak out over them. The other thing is, hey, everything requires maintenance. And so, Jason, I'm thinking back to where we had set up one of our sensors, we realized that traffic was stopping over the top of it. Yeah. And if we had just plugged that and played and just kind of griped about it, or we don't know what's happening. But what we did is we went and watched it. We went and saw what was happening. We reported to y'all. We got that's a great example of, we watched how the technology was being used. We figured out that what was happening is when they stopped over the sensor, caused the sensor to reset, and that was causing our off counts. And so with that knowledge, with just a little bit of maintenance, a little bit of tender love and care, if you want to say it that way, we were able to work with you guys, and we found a way where it wouldn't reset, and now our counts worked. But I think every technology needs a little bit of TLC to make sure that it works as intended. So technology, does it ever fail?
That's right.
Anyway, no,
that's great.
Awesome.
No, I mean, that kind of collaboration and that kind of communication, it definitely helps make things go a lot more smoothly. You want to make it go smoothly like this and not have spikes like this when you're going through these kinds of setups. But look, guys, I I really, I really appreciate both of your times today, and you really had some good insight, good stories here, and look, I hope to do this again soon, and really want to thank everyone on the call today as we wrap up. So really, thank you guys again for joining us, and hopefully we'll be doing this again soon. All right, guys.
All right.
All the best for
Thank you,
the upcoming
Jason.
semester.
Hey, y'all, this
Thanks
has
a
been
lot,
fun.
everyone. Take care, guys.
Best of
Thanks,
luck.
everyone. You too. Bye-bye.